When rich customers mocked his disabled son's dancing, billionaire Robert Harrison felt ashamed and did nothing. But a poor waitress named Sarah risked everything to dance with little Tommy. She lost her job that night. She had no idea this one act of kindness would change her life forever. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more emotional stories. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more emotional stories. The fancy restaurant was full of rich people. They wore expensive clothes and talked loudly about their money. In the corner sat a man with his young son. The man was Robert Harrison, one of the richest people in the city. But tonight he was just a worried father. His son Tommy was 8 years old. Tommy had Down syndrome. He moved slowly and spoke differently than other children. But Tommy had the biggest heart in the world. "Dad, can we dance?" Tommy asked, pointing to the small dance floor where a few couples were dancing. Robert looked around. People were already staring at them. He felt embarrassed. "Not now, Tommy. Maybe later." But Tommy really wanted to dance. He loved music. When his favorite song started playing, he got up from his chair. He began to move to the music, his arms swaying happily. "Look at that weird kid," someone whispered. "Why don't his parents control him?" another person said loudly. "This is a nice restaurant, not a place for people like that," a woman in diamonds said with disgust. Robert's face turned red. He felt angry and ashamed. He was about to get Tommy and leave when something amazing happened. Sarah Martinez was working her second job of the day. She was 23 years old and worked as a waitress to pay for her college classes. She also took care of her sick mother at home. Life was hard, but Sarah never complained. She saw little Tommy dancing alone. She also heard the cruel words from the other customers. Her heart broke for this sweet child. Sarah walked over to Tommy with a big smile. "Hi there. I love your dancing. Can you teach me some moves?" Tommy's face lit up like sunshine. "Really? You want to dance with me?" "Of course. You're the best dancer here." Sarah took Tommy's hand. She began to dance with him, following his simple steps. Tommy laughed with pure joy. His happiness filled the whole restaurant. But the rich customers got angrier. "This is terrible. Call the manager," the diamond lady shouted. "I'm never coming back here," another man yelled. The restaurant manager, Mr. Peterson, ran over. He was scared of losing his rich customers. "Sarah, stop this right now. Take the boy back to his table," he ordered. "But sir, we're just dancing." "The child is not hurting anyone," Sarah said calmly. "You're making our important customers uncomfortable. If you don't stop, you're fired." Sarah looked at Tommy's happy face. Then she looked at the angry rich people. She made her choice. "Then I guess I'm fired," she said. She kept dancing with Tommy. Mr. Peterson's face turned purple. "You're done. Get out. And don't expect any good reference from us." Sarah packed her things while the other waiters looked at her with sad eyes. They wanted to help, but they needed their jobs too. "Sarah, why did you do that?" her friend Maria whispered. "You need this job." "Some things are more important than jobs," Sarah replied. That little boy needed a friend. Tommy ran to Sarah as she was leaving. "Are you in trouble because of me?" Sarah knelt down and hugged him. "No, sweetie. You did nothing wrong. You keep dancing, okay? Don't let anyone stop you from being happy." Robert Harrison watched everything. He saw how his son's face had glowed with happiness. He saw how Sarah had risked her job for a child she didn't even know. He felt something he hadn't felt in years: respect for another human being. As Sarah walked toward the door, Robert followed her. "Miss, wait," he called. Sarah turned around. "Yes, sir?" "Thank you," Robert said quietly. "No one has ever been that kind to my son. He's a wonderful boy. You should be proud of him." I should have danced with him myself," Robert admitted, feeling ashamed. "It's never too late," Sarah smiled sadly and walked out into the cold night. Robert watched her go. He didn't even know her name. The next few weeks were terrible for Sarah. She looked for jobs everywhere, but Mr. Peterson had called other restaurant owners. He told them Sarah was a troublemaker who didn't respect important customers. No one would hire her. Sarah's savings ran out quickly. She couldn't pay for her college classes anymore. Worse, her mother needed expensive medicine and Sarah couldn't afford it. "Mija, maybe you should have kept quiet at that restaurant," her mother said weakly from her bed. "No, Mama. I did the right thing. God will help us somehow." But Sarah was scared. She applied for cleaning jobs, grocery store jobs, anything she could find. Each day she walked miles looking for work. Her shoes had holes, but she kept going. Meanwhile, Robert Harrison couldn't stop thinking about the kind waitress. He had asked Tommy about that night many times. "Dad, why don't people like me?" Tommy had asked. Robert's heart broke. He realized he had been part of the problem. He had been embarrassed by his own son. "Tommy, you are perfect just the way you are. And from now on we'll dance together whenever you want." But Robert couldn't forget the girl who had sacrificed everything for his son. He tried to find her, but no one at the restaurant would tell him her name. Robert Harrison was not just rich, he was powerful. He owned hotels, restaurants, and shopping centers all over the city. When he decided to find someone, he always succeeded. He hired a private detective. "Find the waitress who was fired from Lou Bernardine restaurant 3 weeks ago. I need her name and address." "Sir, may I ask why?" the detective asked. "She showed kindness to my son. I want to thank her properly." It took 2 days. The detective came back with a file. "Her name is Sarah Martinez, sir. She's 23 years old, studying business at community college. Lives with her sick mother in an apartment downtown. Sir, she's in bad trouble." Robert read the report. Sarah's mother had cancer. They had no insurance. Sarah had been borrowing money just to buy food. She was 3 months behind on rent. "She's going to be evicted next week," the detective continued. "And sir, she's been walking 20 miles a day looking for work. No one will hire her because of what happened at the restaurant." Robert felt anger rise in his chest. But this time his anger was not at Tommy or Sarah. It was at himself and people like him. "Get me everything on Mr. Peterson and that restaurant. I also want the names of every customer who was rude that night." "Sir, what are you planning?" Robert smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Some people need to learn about consequences. The next morning, Mr. Peterson got a phone call that changed his life. "Mr. Peterson? This is Robert Harrison." Peterson nearly dropped the phone. Everyone in the city knew that name. Robert Harrison could buy and destroy businesses with one phone call. Mr. Harrison. What an honor. How can I help you, sir?" "I understand you fired a waitress named Sarah Martinez 3 weeks ago." Peterson's blood turned cold. "Yes, sir. She was causing problems with our valued customers." "I see. And I understand you've been telling other restaurant owners not to hire her." Peterson began to sweat. "Sir, I was protecting the industry from troublemakers." "Mr. Peterson, that troublemaker showed kindness to my disabled son. She lost her job because she refused to stop dancing with him." The phone was silent for a long moment. "Your restaurant sits on property I own, Mr. Peterson. Your lease expires next month. I've decided not to renew it." "Sir, please. I have employees. I have a family." "You should have thought about that before you destroyed a good person's life. You have 30 days to close down." Robert hung up. But he wasn't done. Robert made more phone calls. The diamond lady who had complained was Mrs. Williams. She was married to a man who worked for one of Robert's companies. "Tell Mr. Williams his services are no longer needed," Robert told his assistant. "Sir, should I give a reason?" "Tell him his wife's behavior toward disabled children doesn't match our company values." The man who had called Tommy weird worked at a bank that Robert owned part of. "He's fired too," Robert decided. One by one, Robert found ways to make the cruel people pay. He didn't destroy their lives, but he made sure they understood that actions have consequences. But his biggest plan was still coming. Sarah was packing her few belongings. Tomorrow she and her mother would be homeless. She had failed to find work and their landlord was throwing them out. There was a knock at the door. Sarah opened it to find a man in an expensive suit. "Miss Martinez? I'm James Wilson, Mr. Robert Harrison's assistant. Mr. Harrison would like to speak with you." Sarah's heart stopped. I don't understand. Who is Robert Harrison?" "He's the father of the little boy you danced with at Lou Bernardine restaurant." "Oh, Tommy's dad? Is Tommy okay?" "Tommy is fine. Mr. Harrison would like to offer you a job." Sarah couldn't believe it. "A job? But why?" "He'll explain everything. Can you come with me?" Sarah looked back at her sick mother. "I can't leave my mother alone. We'll arrange for a nurse to stay with her. This is very important, Miss Martinez." Robert Harrison's office was bigger than Sarah's entire apartment. When she walked in, she felt very small and scared. But Robert smiled kindly and stood up to greet her. "Miss Martinez, thank you for coming. Please sit down." "Mr. Harrison, if this is about the restaurant, I'm sorry if I caused problems for you." "You caused no problems for me. You gave my son the happiest moment he's had in months." Robert walked to his desk and picked up a folder. "I know about your situation. Your mother's illness, your lost job, your college classes. I know Mr. Peterson has been blocking you from getting work. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. I'm not asking for charity, sir. This isn't charity. This is business. I want to offer you a job as manager of my new restaurant. Sarah's mouth fell open. Manager? But sir, I'm just a waitress. I don't have experience managing anything. You have something more important than experience. You have character. You have kindness. You proved that when you chose my son's happiness over your own job. Robert opened the folder. The salary is $80,000 a year. Full health insurance for you and your mother. College tuition paid. And a signing bonus of $50,000. Sarah couldn't speak. She just stared at the papers. There's more, Robert continued. I'm opening a special restaurant. It will employ people with disabilities. People like my son Tommy. You'll help them find work and dignity. I can't accept this. It's too much. Miss Martinez, you gave my son something I couldn't give him, acceptance. You showed him that he matters. You can't put a price on that gift. 3 months later, Tommy's Place opened its doors. It was the most beautiful restaurant in the city. But what made it special wasn't the food or decorations. Half of the employees had disabilities. They worked as greeters, servers, and kitchen helpers. Each person was trained with patience and love. Sarah was the general manager. She worked with each employee to help them succeed. The restaurant quickly became famous, not just for good food but for its warm, accepting atmosphere. Tommy came to visit every week with his father. He loved seeing all his new friends working and laughing together. Sarah, you made my dream come true, Tommy told her one day. Everyone here is happy just like when we danced. Sarah hugged him tightly. You made my dream come true too, Tommy. Chapter 11. The Ultimate Revenge. 6 months after Tommy's Place opened, Mr. Peterson came begging for a job. His restaurant had closed and no one would hire him. Please, Miss Martinez. I have children to feed. I made a mistake. Sarah looked at the man who had destroyed her life. She could have said no. She could have made him suffer like he made her suffer. Instead, she said, Can you start as a dishwasher tomorrow? A dishwasher? But I was a manager. So was I once. Then I was nothing. Now I'm something again. Everyone deserves a second chance, Mr. Peterson. But you'll start at the bottom and earn your way up. Peterson swallowed his pride. He needed work. Over time he learned what Sarah had always known, that every person has value. Working alongside people with disabilities taught him lessons no business school could teach. 1 year later, Tommy's Place won the Restaurant of the Year award. At the ceremony, Sarah was asked to give a speech. She looked out at the crowd. She saw her mother healthy again thanks to good medical care. She saw her employees proud in their uniforms. She saw Mr. Peterson, who had become a good supervisor and friend. Most importantly, she saw Tommy and his father in the front row. A year ago, I was fired for dancing with a little boy, Sarah began. I lost my job, my money, and almost my hope. But I learned something important that night. The room was completely quiet. Kindness is never wasted. When you choose love over fear, when you choose acceptance over judgment, the universe finds a way to reward you. Not always with money or success, but with something better, purpose. She looked at Tommy, who was clapping excitedly. Tommy taught me that dancing isn't about perfect steps. It's about joy. It's about connection. It's about saying to another person, you matter. You belong. You are loved. The crowd gave a standing ovation. 2 years later, Sarah married Dr. Miguel Santos, a kind doctor she met through her charity work. The wedding was held at Tommy's Place, of course. But the most special moment came when it was time for the first dance. Sarah walked over to Tommy's table. Would you like to dance with me, Tommy? Just like we did that first night? Tommy's face lit up with pure joy. Really? At your wedding? You're the one who taught me how to dance from the heart. Tommy took Sarah's hand and they walked to the dance floor. The same song that had played that night at the fancy restaurant began to play. As they danced, everyone joined them. Robert danced with Sarah's mother. Mr. Peterson danced with his wife. All the employees of Tommy's Place danced together. Even the people who had once been cruel to Tommy were there. They had learned, slowly, to see past their fears and prejudices. 5 years later, there were 12 Tommy's Place restaurants across the country. Each one employed people with disabilities and served as a beacon of acceptance in their communities. Sarah and Miguel had twin daughters. The girls loved their Uncle Tommy, and never saw him as different, just as the most fun person they knew. Robert Harrison had changed too. He started a foundation that helped families with disabled children. He spoke at schools and businesses about inclusion and acceptance. My son taught me the most important lesson of my life, he would tell audiences. He taught me that love is not about being perfect. It's about being human. Tommy, now 13, was thriving. He attended regular school with support, had many friends, and still loved to dance. He often visited the restaurants that bore his name, bringing joy wherever he went. On the 5th anniversary of Tommy's place, Sarah received an unexpected visitor. It was Mrs. Williams, the diamond lady who had been so cruel that first night. "Miss Martinez, I need to speak with you." Sarah invited her into her office, wondering what this could be about. "5 years ago, I said terrible things about a little boy in a restaurant. That boy was Tommy Harrison." Sarah nodded, remembering that awful night. "I lost my job because of my behavior. At first I was angry. But then I realized something. I was wrong. I was cruel to a child who was just trying to be happy." Mrs. Williams began to cry. "My own grandson was born with autism last year. Now I understand what Tommy's family goes through every day. I came to apologize and to ask, could I volunteer here? I want to help. I want to make up for the hate I showed." Sarah looked at this broken woman who had once been so proud and cruel. Everyone deserved a chance to change. "We always need volunteers, Mrs. Williams. And Tommy would love to meet you properly." 10 years after that night at the fancy restaurant, Sarah stood in the newest Tommy's Place location. She was now the CEO of a company that employed over 500 people with disabilities across 15 states. Her daughters, now 5 years old, were teaching Tommy's nephew how to dance. The little boy had cerebral palsy, but his laughter filled the room as he moved to the music. Robert Harrison, now in his 60s, watched his son Tommy training new employees. Tommy had become one of the best employee trainers in the company. His patience and kindness helped newcomers feel welcome and confident. "Sarah," Robert said, walking up to her, "do you ever regret that night? The night you gave up everything for my son?" Sarah smiled, watching the children dance. "Mr. Harrison, I didn't give up everything that night. I found everything. I found my purpose, my family, my future. All because a little boy wanted to dance. And all because a young woman chose kindness over safety." They stood together, watching Tommy lead a group of new employees in a welcome dance. His joy was infectious, his love unconditional. The restaurant was full of laughter, acceptance, and hope. Families with disabled children came from all over to eat at a place where their children were celebrated, not tolerated. "You know what the best part is?" Sarah asked Robert. "What's that?" "Tommy still asks me to dance every time he visits. And I always say yes." As if he had heard her, Tommy bounded over with his biggest smile. "Sarah, they're playing our song. Will you dance with me?" Sarah took his hand just like she had 10 years ago. As they began to move to the music, everyone in the restaurant stopped what they were doing to watch. But this time, no one stared with judgment or disgust. They watched with love, with joy, with acceptance. And in that moment, Sarah knew that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes in the world. The dance continued, and it always would. This story reminds us that kindness is never wasted, love always wins, and every person, no matter their abilities, deserves to dance through life with joy and dignity.